Introduce our facilitator, Karen Jackson. Karen Jackson, MPA and CNP, is the president of Embrace Your Power, LLC. The passionate community advocate's love for writing started during her years as a reporter for the Dayton Daily News. Today, her writing is published in a monthly devotion, which she is now turning into a devotional Strength for the Struggle, Learning to Shine from Within. She is a dynamic motivational speaker and a trailblazer in her field of communications, marketing, PR, and PR. Garnering numerous awards and recognitions, including being named a top 25 woman of impact in 2021. Her work has also been commended by the Boy Scouts of America, the National and Ohio Public Relations Associations, and the Air Force Research Laboratory. And she is the host of Through My Lens, a leadership podcast that highlights individuals who have risen above their setbacks. Please welcome Karen Jackson.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I am just honored to be sitting in this seat. When I was listening to you ladies answer the question about how you let your light shine, I related so much to each one of you because we all know that this is a process, this is a journey, and I'm just excited. I have to share that starting out as a Bridges to Success mentee and being able to just continue to learn from a lot of these ladies that's on this call and have them pour into me, continue to show me my light when I felt like my light was dimming. I am in awe, and I thank you all. And thank you also for showing me how to fulfill my purpose that God has called me to do. So I just thank you all for shining your light to helping me discover mine. So thank you so much. So what I'd like to do besides welcoming you.
Should they start the slide share, the screen share?
No, not just yet. We're going to pray first, okay? So the Women in Christian Leadership Flight 842023 has taken off. Fasten your seatbelts, grab your cup of coffee and your notebook. Open up your heart and mind as King Jesus leads us to our destination this morning. The topic and the theme for today is Be a Stunning Representative Strength. Psalms 143:8 says, "Let me hear of your unfailing love each morning, for I am trusting you. Show me where to walk, for I give myself to you." And I think that's all what we have to do every day. If we want to be that shining representative that God wants us to be, we have to first go to him and ask him, what is it that he is calling us to do for this day? Because each day is different, right? Each assignment is different. And I will say this, I heard my question, now you can go to the slides, Ms. Beth.
Okay.
The question is, how do you take command of your morning? And I'll share this because I had a 90-year-old woman shared with me. I was asking her, how do you, because she's still moving and dancing and driving and doing all of these wonderful things. And I said, how do you do that? And she said, I take command of my morning. And that just made me stop for a minute. And I had to ask her more questions about that. And one thing she said, and I know all of us, we're planners here. We have our to-do list of things we're going to do each day. But she said, I take the time to have God talk to me over that list. And then I say, okay, God, this is what you want me to do. And then he guides me and shows me what I need to do. So she said, sometimes I get everything done on that list, and sometimes I do not. And so that's why I asked you the question, how do you command your morning? Because there's so many demands on all of us at different points in time in our lives, different distractions that get us off our purpose for the day, right? Traffic, accidents, all of those things. But how do you command your morning? One of the things that I do is I go to the word, right? And I'll have to share this with you. Over the last maybe 30, 60 days, right before I was starting to really get ready for this talk, my Facebook page was hacked. And this is at the time I have projects I'm trying to promote through all of my, and I can't do it. And I said, what am I going to do? How am I going to do this? And you know what? It was just kind of like God said, be still. Who's in control? Command this moment, right? And so instead of getting frustrated and saying, okay, well, the marketing is not going to be right and everything, I just said, okay, God, I'm just going to give it over to you and let you handle it. And what he has showed me through his word in this last 30 days is going to change the trajectory of what I do on social media moving forward. So just so you know, you'll start to see some of those changes. But I have to share this word because I think this comes key to about commanding your morning. This was sent to me on my birthday, by the way, which I just had this past week.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. It says, it is from Ephesians 3:20-21. Never doubt God's mighty power to work in you and accomplish all this. He will achieve infinitely more than your greatest request, your most unbelievable dream, and exceed your wildest imagination. He will outdo them all, for his miraculous power constantly energizes you. Now we offer you to God all the glorious praise that rises from every church and every generation through Jesus Christ, and all that will yet be manifest through time and eternity. Amen. And I thought for myself, what a powerful statement for me, turning the double nickels, right? I'm embracing that. I know some people say, oh, don't tell your age. I'm excited that God has allowed me to see 55, right? And that I can now share all the lessons and challenges and setbacks and how he's helped me to shine through it all. And I think it's no coincidence that I was able to talk about this very topic. So that's why I'm so excited. So Ms. Beth, can you go to the slide about the thoughts? One of the things that I had asked for everybody to do during this time is to just take some time to think about what you thought about in the last 24 hours. Right? What have you thought about in the last 24 hours? And that's not any. And so, you know, that is, and I think that was really the whole point of our exercise, is that we have to learn that there's things that happen in our lives that we can be positive one day, we can be like, oh yes, and then things come in and it can shift us. But we just have to go back and pull those thoughts captive, right? And one of the things that I would encourage you to do is this list that you came up with, is go back to that list and look for patterns, right? Look for patterns of fears, of inadequacies, of insecurities, of things that you're not pushing yourself. And then come up with another thought. What is another thought that you can put? So Miss Sherry, okay, I'm not a homemade, I'm not a home preparer, repairer person, but you know what? I have the mind of Christ. So God is going to give me what I need, right? To do the things I need to do for my house so that I don't feel the way I feel, right? And we allow those emotions to take over, right? And that's what we always have to do. And I'm like Mama Daria, I'm a recover. That's why I put, are you a stinking thinker? Because I'm a recovering stinker, right? I would forebode about anything. If everything was wonderful, I'm like, okay, now what's about to happen now? Something else is about to happen, right? But then I realized that that wasn't of God. No. Because God has said to expect abundance.
That's right.
He doesn't say expect the worst. He says expect the abundance, all that God has for us, right? So we have to elevate what we expect.
Yeah.
We serve a big God who has big things in store for us, right? Each thing we conquer is just another thing that he has to take us to the next level. And so I asked, can you advance the slide, Miss Beth?
Yes.
So my question is, I want you to think about this as I share this story. What's your light story? I want to share a story about a 9-year-old girl who never wanted to share her light. She didn't really feel sure of herself and always wanted to wear dark clothes, perform duties that were in the background. But it always seemed that she would get these assignments and opportunities to be in the light. One day she was asked to speak at a big church event that made her sweat just thinking about it. She didn't want any part of it, but her mother was determined to make sure she participated in the event. The young girl kept explaining to her mother why she couldn't do it, why she was just not capable. Her mother didn't listen and took her to all the bookstores and to take her to do all the research she needed to do to write and perform her speech. The day finally came for her to deliver her speech. The nervous young girl approached the podium with her head down and walked straight to the microphone. By the time the young woman finished her performance, she received a standing ovation, despite her uncertainty and lack of courage. It was then that the 9-year-old girl learned she could not dim her light, despite her fears or feelings of inadequacy. That little girl, that 9 little girl, is me. This was just the beginning of my walk of learning to have faith and to lean on God and to embrace all the gifts that he has given me and learn how to give it to the world. And so that little one thing is just what started to the trajectory of what I'm doing today. So, and I share that story because I started telling Miss Jeannie and Beth that in the beginning. And I say that to all the mothers out there. You, no matter what you have given, you've given your daughters the best of you. And just know that it's going to come back in all the different ways you might not have never imagined. Because now I'm able to do what I'm doing now. And I would never be able to do it if my mom did not push what she saw in me. So that's for all of us. You know, we may not have, our children may be grown now, but we have people in our lives that we can make that change. We can show them their light. We just have to be open and willing to do it. So we all have a light. And when you think about it, can you show the next slide? I want to show you this video because I think when we talk about light,
I am, but I'm muted. With was understanding who God was, just point blank period, you know, and trying to understand that he's not a vending machine, you know, where you ask for something and then you get something back from him immediately. That's not what that relationship is supposed to be. And I couldn't understand how someone so good could allow something so horrible to happen. And I also didn't understand how Christians were going through difficult things, because I thought the whole point of being faithful and being a believer was that it shielded you, you know, in this world. And my mom told me that being a Christian does not mean that you will cease to experience negative and difficult things. That's not how it works. It does not, like, you still live in this world that is flawed. You will experience hurt, and bad things happen to good and bad people, just as good things happen to good and bad people, and we don't understand why. That's just how the world works. But what being a Christian does, how it sets you apart, is that when those bad things happen, for example, a plane crash, or maybe something not as huge, you know, when they happen, they give you like he gives you a place to go to when those bad things happen. So he is more like he's a place of refuge. He's a place of peace and a place of comfort. You know, so he is who you turn to, you know, when difficult things happen in life. So the difference there would be a non-believer might encounter difficult things and feel hopeless, like it's a dead end. But being a believer lets you know that it's never hopeless. As long as you have breath in you, it's not the end when those bad things happen. There's a place where you can go that will give you comfort and love, and most times reinvigorate you to go back out there and keep facing those challenges. So I think that was the most important perspective change for me in terms of faith. I started to see God more as a loving father who wanted the best for us, even though sometimes the world will not give us the best. And I
Did you guys hear that?
Yes, yes, yes.
When we talk about shifting our thoughts, shifting our lenses, the way I had to share that story because, I mean, if you guys know anything about that young woman, she was in a plane crash, and there were like hundreds of people on this plane, and she was only one of two people who survived, and all her family died on that plane. And she got burnt up in the plane. And so she was thinking all her family was alive, and then she realized during the course of her treatment that she was the only family survivor. Wow. And do you hear, I mean, it just blew me away when I heard what she said. I just wanted to hear what your thoughts were on that, because it was amazing to me. What are your thoughts about, you know, how she said that, you know, despite what happens to you, that it's an opportunity for us to go deeper in faith, right? And not just to go to God like he's a vending machine. To say, okay, God, fix this. And you know, sometimes we do. I like, okay, God, now I need you to come in now. You say I'm the head and not the tail. You know, we get to quoting the scriptures. But what if God wanted to teach us something through that?
That's my belief.
Well, it is. She did. That's what she said in the video. If you go back and listen to that whole video, it's just a miraculous story. If you haven't, you could go back and see the whole video. But that's exactly what she said. It was all the stories of faith that her mother and father taught her before they passed, that they continued to live on through her. And she said she didn't realize then that God was preparing her faith then. But what she did say that I thought was so profound, what you said, Karen, and I love your story. She said that when she finally was able to look at herself in the mirror, she said she knew she didn't look the same. She said, but something about the way she looked at herself in the mirror, she knew it was her. And so to me, that was just like, that was God showing her, not the outer, you know, because the man, we look at outer, God was showing her somewhere in there, that inner light. And somehow she was able to grab that. And I just think the lives she's going to be able to change, even myself seeing that video, I think it's just miraculous. And I think that's what we all do, being open. Thank you, Karen, for sharing. You know, I love you. You're one of my favorite Karens. But, and that's what we have to continue to do. We have to continue to be the light. And, you know, if you look at the Bible has all of these stories about people of strength in the Bible, right? We can go down the line of people, right? And one of the things I thought about was the 3 Hebrew children. They were being thrown in the furnace, right? And, you know, they were, you could imagine they were being talked about and probably taunted. And they were like, what? You're talking about this Jesus that's going to save you? Where are you going in this furnace? And then somehow then the story is told that they see 4 people in the furnace. And that's my spiritual imagination, is that was Jesus in that furnace with them. And that's, that's what he promises. He promises to be with us. all things for our good, right? He uses all the challenges. He uses all the brokenness, all those things to make us who he wants us to be, to fulfill his purpose in his time and not our time, right? And so, you know, one of the things that that resonated with me as I started to think about this whole paradigm shift and changing your mind frame is that in order to do that, in order to really see the insights and the lessons that God is trying to show us in those dark times, we have to change the way we see things, right? Mm-hmm. We have to change our eyesight. And I started to look at the lion, and the lion, the lion is their, they said that their eyesight is their greatest weapon on the battlefield. And they see 6 to 8 times better than humans in low light conditions. So what I kind of gather from that is that that's what we have to do. We have to learn to train our eyes to see like a lion, to see in those dark places. When we just don't know where to turn, what to do, everything seems like Karen Carter said earlier, it's like, okay, I'm tired of death. I'm tired. Come on, God. But God keeps saying, come on. I'm trying to teach you something, right? And it's those things that's going to really help us to fulfill what God is calling us to do. And I'd like to show this video, and then this will probably wrap us up. But I think one of the key things that what we have to do when we're going through these things, we have to do a reset, right? Sometimes that's resetting our minds, resetting our hearts, resetting our environments, the people we allow to speak to us and in us, or the places we allow to have access to us. Sometimes we have to pull back because that's not where God is calling us to be. But how do you know how to reset? So real quickly, and then we'll take any final thoughts. Can you guys
just chat with them about their path?
Was in Alaska doing a lawsuit. We're way out in the Aleutian Islands, getting ready to leave and go back to Anchorage and then home. And I had a ticket in my pocket to get on an airplane. A pastor came up and he said, listen, I can save you money. I said, how's that? He said, I flew a small airplane up here. And I fly a small airplane, and I can take you in my little airplane and you can save your ticket. And this did not sound, I said, gee, thank you so very, very much. But I've got this ticket. We'll just make our way on home, me and this other lawyer with me. He said, no, you gotta do it, you gotta do it. And against every better judgment I had, I said, okay. Well, we went out to the airport, took us by his little plane, and I looked at it, and I thought, well, one good thing, it's shiny. Then he walked around it. We got in. He's on the left front. I'm on the right front. The other lawyer's sitting right behind me. And he started it up. And it started up just fine. Well, we taxied out. I said, should we pray? He said, yeah, that's a good idea. We normally don't. I said, well, this time we're gonna. And I'm telling you, I prayed 5-8 minutes. I prayed a long time. We went and got on the runway. He starts down the runway. The plane lifted off ever so gently, and we start climbing. And it's wonderful. Not a problem in the world. We started climbing, and we flew probably 3-4 minutes. And something happened that will never leave my mind. The pilot turned to me, and he said, we're going in the clouds, and I can't fly in clouds. They make me pass out. I said, clouds make you do what? Now, it's been cloudy all day, and we go right up into the clouds, and you can't see anything. And he looks at me, and his eyes roll back in his head, and he starts mumbling, and he passes out. Passed out cold. Now, I grabbed him, and I shook him, and I said, come on, you got to wake up so I can kill you. Now, we're in the clouds, flying along with no pilot. And my friend in the back seat said, we're dead, aren't we? I said, there's a very good chance of that, yes. He said, what are we going to do? I said, I don't know. But there was a radio right there, and I handed him the microphone, and I said, start asking for help. So he's in the back seat reaching up, and he said, hello, hello. We didn't know any proper radio etiquette. All we were saying was hello. And somebody answered back, hello, hello. Don't you guys know proper radio etiquette? And I said, give it to me. I said, tell them we don't know nothing. Tell them we're in an airplane with a passed out pilot and we don't know how to fly this plane. The guy said, I'm a freighter flying out of Anchorage on the way to Tokyo. And he said, you're telling me you have nobody who can fly that plane with you? I said, tell them that's correct. Now you got to understand, I am sweating bullets. He said, the first thing I'm going to do is start circling so I don't lose you, because I'll fly out of range of your radio and you won't have me anymore. And he said, I'm going to get Anchorage Emergency for you. And Anchorage Emergency will be the people that can maybe help you. Try to save your life. After about 5 minutes, Anchorage came on, said, we understand you have a passed out pilot, and those of you do not know how to fly that plane. We said, that's right. They said, well, the first thing we got to do is find you. And I'll never forget what this man at Anchorage said. He said, my job is to get you home safe. He said, that's my job. But he said, here's the deal. If you want me to get you home safe, you got to promise me you'll obey my voice. He said, you can't see me, but I can see you. And he said, if you're not going to obey my voice, you're going to die. When you can't see anything, you have no idea how disorientated you become. Finally, he said, okay, I found you. Now hear me clear. He said, you're 4 minutes from a mountain. He said, you're going to crash in that mountain and die. Follow my voice. I never said, I have to follow your voice? Is that reasonable? You see, I understood without his voice, I had nothing. And do you understand? Without God's voice, you have nothing. Nothing. Finally, he got us turned. And he said, I'm freezing all the traffic in the area. He said, it's going to take me an hour and a half to get you to Anchorage, and there's a lot of weather between you and Anchorage. You're in for a rough ride. And he said, I want you to hear me. I don't want you to look at what's going on outside. I don't want you to pay attention to the storm, just my voice. He said, if you start watching the storm, you will die. But I'll take you through it. Now, because they cleared all the traffic, several pilots, those nighttime freighters, those 747s, started talking to us. They said, we're praying for you, men. You're going to make it. But listen to the voice. That's the key. They said, trust the voice. You realize your head is full of voices, and everybody in this world wants to talk to you, and everybody wants to be the controlling voice. And God says, I want you to be a living sacrifice. I want you to put yourself on the altar and let my voice be your voice. Finally, we went through the worst of the weather, but there was still more. And then the voice came back and it said, now, I'm going to line you up. He said, I'm going to bring you in right down the runway. And at the foot of the runway are some lights, and they're in the form of a cross. He said, don't you forget this. The cross is the way home. Finally, he's bringing us down. We still can't see anything. And all he kept saying is, stay with me. My sheep, the Bible says, hear my voice and they follow me. Finally, just a couple 100 feet off the ground, we saw the cross. I landed the plane. In fact, I landed it 7 times. Finally, it all came to a stop, and the minute we stopped, the pilot woke up. The voice said, thanks for listening. I watch them crash and burn all the time because they won't follow my voice. They don't understand I'm the one who can see them even when they can't see me. But they get the voices in their head and they kill themselves. They self-destruct. Thanks for listening to the voice. Then they put us in a motel room, and about 4 in the morning, the knock at my door. And I opened the door, and a man was standing there. He said, hello, David. I said, you're the voice. You're the one who got me home. He said, I am. Do you understand one day you're going to stand before him and say, you were the voice. You're the voice that brought me home. If you're not on that altar as a living sacrifice, your head's full of voices. And then we wonder why kids crash and burn. We wonder why marriages are shattered. And the Lord's saying, I'm the one who has the voice. All I can remember is that voice saying, stay with me. Stay with me. Don't listen to what's going on in your head and don't watch the storm. Stay with me. And I'll take you through. Tonight you have a God who has promised to take you through. A living sacrifice, holy.
Wow. My
my-
goodness. My
Wow.
goodness. My goodness.
Wow.
Link, please share that link.
Yeah.
Please.
Yes, please.
Oh my goodness.
So
Outstanding.
as I close, I ask you, whose voice are you listening to?
Mhm.
I hope you're hearing God's voice, because he's
Mm.
talking loud. But that means that we have to listen. And we have to be still.
Mm.
So how do we do that? We reset. We rest and tune out the noise
Mm.
and listen to God. According to one of the most recent leadership studies, it said listening is one of the most overlooked leadership skills. It is probably one of the most difficult ones for us to do in our relationship to God, is to just listen. But we have to take time to listen. We have to elevate your thoughts and study the word. Elevate the lessons and wisdom. And then we have to take action. But if you look at reset, there's rest in there, right? Take out one of those E's. And that's part of what we have to do when we reset. We have to readjust some things. And part of that is we have to rest. We have to rest in the arms of God, rest in his word, rest in his promises, so we can hear what he is saying to us. And it's then that we can live in freedom. So I challenge you today to ask yourself, we have 365 days in a year. That's 8,760 hours, or 525,060 minutes. Someone is praying for you to say yes, to hear the voice of what God is calling you to do. So I challenge you today to ask yourself, what is God calling you to do in this season? How is he calling you to represent him? And are you ready? Challenge yourself to be more than someone who just comes into a room and just maintains the status quo. Be prepared to be at the mark. Someone who is able to be a change agent and impacting the lives and the environments of everyone they touch. So I encourage you, ladies, to continue being a stunning representative of strength. Thank you.